Welcome back to Windy City Live. Well, this 20-year-old rising star with roles in the remake of Roots and in the movie Vacation is now creating a whole lot of buzz, starring as a very wise teenager beyond her years in the critically acclaimed FX series Fargo.
There's Fringe playing records just by the hi-fi. And, yeah, you can borrow any book you like.
How much?
How much what?
The way I see it, this whole place, sheets, dishes, 3 hours work, that's at least $1.
Well, aren't you a little capitalist?
Joining us for the first time on Windy City Live, E'myri Crutchfield. Hi, E'myri.
Hi.
E'myri, I was watching you watch the clip. And what is it like seeing yourself on screen? Congratulations, by the way, because this is a huge hit.
Thank you, thank you. It's cringy for me, honestly. I don't like watching myself. It's, you know how you're your biggest critic? I will have a lot of things like, oh, I should have did this different, should have did this different. So it's very cringy. It's weird seeing myself.
Okay, well, that's good to know because Ryan actually likes, I think, to watch himself. I'm like you. I cringe when, because I'm like, oh, I should have done this. I didn't. Yeah, I get it.
Right.
We think you're fantastic. So are all
Thank
the
you.
reviews. The show's getting a lot of positive feedback and vibes so far. So you were here in Chicago last year, actually filming for this. So go Chicago, putting our beautiful city on the map. Was that your first time in our city?
It was.
What did you think? And how does it compare to your hometown of New Orleans?
It was a beautiful sight to see, especially when it was snowing. I'm not used to that scenery. You know, it's very humid and hot in New Orleans. And it was hard to get adjusted to the weather, but other than that, it was really beautiful. And when I went back in August to film after the pandemic, that's when the sun was out and it was sunny and I got to experience the hot side of Chicago.
Very nice. For the record, I only watch the show once in a while as game tape to analyze. I don't watch in adoration either. But let's talk about, set this up a little bit. My pops is obsessed with this show and he keeps telling me, Ra, you gotta watch. And I have now seen the trailer. I promise I'm gonna start binge watching and I'm a big Chris Rock fan, but set this up for us a little bit.
So it's basically, it's set in the 1950s in Kansas City. I'm sorry.
Whose dog is that?
Mine. It's set in the 1950s in Kansas City, and it's about two crime syndicates who share their sons as a peace treaty to keep the violence at an all-time low. And then my character comes in as Ethelrida Smutny. She's 15 years old, and she's a very curious and smart bee.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, your character actually narrates too, right? The whole
yes. If you don't see me, you'll hear me as well.
So this was a really exciting role. I read that you said you were super excited about it because this is kind of different than other things that you've been cast for. What did you maybe learn about that time period? And I mean, obviously you're a young lady, so this is kind of a history lesson too.
Right. Oh wow. You know, that the character Ethelrida, she really opened my perspective to a lot of things. You know, just how powerful her character was and the topics she would hit on, and her perspective on those topics. I never looked at anything in the light she brought to it. For example, when she says, who writes the history books? You know, who chooses what goes in the history textbooks? You know, there's more than what we just know from the textbooks. And that, I never thought of that. You have to educate yourself outside of the education system because it's not everything that happened in history. You know, it's what they want us to know.
Right. And speaking of that, your character is biracial and you get to witness a lot what a Black woman had to go through back in the day in the 1950s. How would you say that it's the same or different than what we're going through now?
I think, you know, from then to now, I mean, the biggest difference is that it's kind of swept under the rug more. You know, it's there, but it's not as prominent as it was back then, you know. But I think, you know, we're on our road to a lot of change, I believe. I mean, we have made some progress from then to now, but I think the biggest difference is, the millennials. Everyone's fighting for equal rights. Everyone's fighting for each other. It's not just our fight.
Right, right.
Absolutely. I got to ask you about working with Chris Rock, because he is a bad mother in this, and obviously, iconic comedian, but he really shows off his acting chops in this.
He was amazing. It was, I never thought in a million years I would be in a scene with Chris Rock this early in my career. And it was a lovely experience. I mean, outside of Chris Rock, just the entire cast, just watching them work, I literally was observing everyone. I did more observing than talking. It was just so nice to be around those people and, watch how they go and how they work with their craft, how they tap into their character, how they execute their character. It was like a big acting, what would you call it?
Like a master class.
Yes, like a master class. I was just taking it all in.
Yeah. And speaking of classes, your mother said you were so good at impersonations when you were a young girl that she enrolled you in acting classes at the age of 8. Is that when you knew that this would be your career choice?
No. No. She didn't know either, though. It was more so I was such an outgoing child that people were telling my mom, "Look, you need to put her in something, like put her in acting class." And so that's where it stemmed from. And so she, people kept telling her, she was like, you know what, let me just do it. And then from there, I just fell in love with it.
Yeah, what's your best impression?
It's not more so impression. I'm really good at improv. I can I can do a scene on the spot, like off the top of my head, whatever you say.
Very nice. Well, we are definitely going to tune in and check you out. Sunday nights, 9 o'clock, Fargo. That is the show on FX. We'll be right back with more Windy City Live.